Hey Alyssa, how you doing? All right, I've got your work up here. Let's go ahead and jump right over to the work. Here we are. Okay, got the logo up. I think it's a real. I got the magazine ad up over here too. So there's the logo. Good magazine ad. We're looking great here. I think you're really looking good. It's a wonderful campaign. I think that the rebranding definitely has a totally different flair, different flavor, if you will, for the original, and that's really super interesting. So in a lot of ways, it's very successful. I think the logo itself has a couple of issues. Mainly that a lot of this type is not legible. It's being obstructed by a couple of things. The combination of the contrast between the red background and the gray type, as well as the fact that the QBP is placed in front of that type, so the type is just, it's not legible, it's not readable, and I think it causes an uncomfortable visual stress. As we can see in the magazine ad, we can see that, yeah, there are letters there, but they're just not readable. So that's a little bit of a problem. I think that I took the liberty of creating another logo based on this exact same thing, just another concept, if you will. And let's go ahead and take a look. So we can clearly see that this is just so much more memorable, and it's more accessible to the viewer. I think we've got a QBP. We've got a couple of things to remember. QBP, that's it, and then Passion Adventure Trails. So instead of trying to spend time looking at this going, gosh, what does that say? We just have basically QBP with this little tagline on the bottom of it. Very effective, very clean, very contemporary, very effective. So a little bit of a deduction here based on some of these conflicting visual elements. Creating what I call, well, within the industry, what is called visual clutter. And please don't take that as a derogatory term. It's actually an industry specific term that means the convergence of many different visual elements in a small area, referred to as visual clutter. Visual clutter reduces harmony, as we can see right here, right? So again, as I said, there's a very minor deduction. Logo has elements that are difficult to read. We got -5 on that. Let's go ahead and jump to the magazine ad. I think the magazine ad's great. It's a really great start. One of the things that young, inexperienced, and student designers do a lot, and I want you to think about this, and from this moment on, I want you to think about every time you want to make this choice. Student designers always want to put things in boxes, and one of the reasons is because there's a some of the images that we choose aren't all suitable for imagery. I think this one's just fine. I think we need to find some color and some typographic presentation that would preclude the need for these boxes in the background. Presumably the boxes are placed because the type is hard to read behind those boxes, which indicates mainly that the image might be too busy in terms of having too much texture in the background, too many visual elements to be able to support text. So as you're composing an ad, you want to choose images that you can look at and say, this will hold text easily without having to place it in boxes. The reason we don't want to place text in boxes is because it creates a degree of separation from the composition. If we place type right over the image, that creates harmony. If we create boxes, place the boxes over the image, then it seems like we're, instead of incorporating type into the composition, we're pasting type over the composition, decreasing the harmony between the image and the typography. Okay, hope that makes sense. Very, very important principle in design. So keep that in mind moving forward. I think that if we were to just remove the boxes, I'd like to see how this white type works. If not, we could certainly start working with color and or other type choices to try to make it a little bit more legible, to the point where we don't have to use these boxes behind the type. Again, remember, moving forward, that the takeaway here is that placing a typographic element within boxes in a main composition creates a degree of separation as opposed to creating a degree of harmony. Okay, the only other problem I see with this is your use of margin. So the type is right smack dab against the edge of the image. You want to create a little bit of an area there, kind of basically, we can call it something like a resting area for the viewer, kind of a little padded area there, so we don't have this kind of tension of the type almost ready to knock right off the page. We see the same thing with the logo, where the logo actually is moving right off the page. And that's irregardless of whether there's this white frame. I'm not real sure if this white frame is part of the ad, the intended ad, or if it's just this beautiful white frame background that you put on it. But the point is that you want to create within the image itself. I would say, watch my cursor, something like this for your margin areas. Okay, so maybe, yeah, something like that. Just so there's a little bit of an area between, specifically in this case, the right and left margins, and the page, the edge of the image itself. Okay, other than that, I think you're off to a fantastic start. Hierarchy is wonderful, really good use of scale here. Um, I think that it's a great start. I think that it is definitely showing proficiency in the principles of design as we have learned them through the weeks. So, another little minor deduction over there. We've got -5 points for establishing margins and not placing text and removing the boxes in the type. Okay, so just very minor 10-point deduction out of 125. That puts you at a solid A. Fantastic job. Any questions at all, please let me know. Thank you very much. By the way, I'd just like to remind you to go ahead and take that student review if you haven't already done that. The evaluation, course evaluation. There's an announcement. I've gone over that a couple of times. I just want to make sure everybody remembers to do that. And absolutely, please feel free to keep my contact information, and don't hesitate to contact me for any of your future education needs, including if you need help on a project. Even though if I'm not your teacher in a class, you have a class and you have some issues, you want some critique or some comments or advice, whatever, let me know. Shoot me an email. I'll be glad to. Or if you just want to shoot an email and say, hey, that's beautiful too. All right, Alisa, thank you very much. Again, please keep my contact information. Don't hesitate to use it for your future educational needs. It's been a fantastic class. I really enjoyed your presence. I think you're an excellent student. Thank you very much, Alisa.